What if I told you that the events foretold in Revelation have already been unfolding for centuries, hidden from plain sight, silently shaping the world as we know it? Many believe these prophecies point to a distant future, occurring within a short period. But let's be honest, the Apostle John never revealed how long this process would take. Throughout history, people have tried to interpret these prophecies, yet only in our time do they align with real-world events in undeniable ways. Wars, economic crises, AI, and global pandemics, the evidence is everywhere. Are the four horsemen already riding? Global surveillance and digital currency. Is technology paving the way for the mark of the beast? Pandemics and climate disasters. Are these divine warnings of the coming tribulations? Before we go further, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more hidden truths from the Bible to be revealed. Now, let's examine modern history through the lens of Revelation and ask the crucial question: are the end times already here? World War I and II as four horsemen of apocalypse. The world has already witnessed two devastating world wars, conflicts that reshaped nations and altered the course of history. But were these merely geopolitical struggles, or do they bear a deeper, prophetic significance? In Revelation 6:1-8, the four horsemen of the apocalypse emerge as harbingers of conquest, war, famine, and death. Many theologians and scholars have drawn eerie parallels between these riders and the horrors of the 20th century. The first rider, the horseman on the white horse, symbolizes conquest. Some interpret this as the rise of powerful ideologies and expansionist empires. The early 20th century saw the aggressive spread of imperialism, nationalism, and revolutionary movements. The world was plunged into a period of unprecedented political shifts, setting the stage for global conflict. Then came the Red Horse, the embodiment of war. World War I and World War II, the deadliest conflicts in human history, left millions dead and many nations in ruins. Following war, the Black Horse arrived, bringing famine and economic collapse. The Great Depression of the 1930s devastated economies worldwide, leaving millions in poverty. Even today, financial instability, inflation, and economic inequality continue to widen the gap between the rich and poor. Finally, the Pale Horse, the rider of death, followed closely behind. With the advancement of nuclear weapons, humanity now possesses the power to destroy itself entirely. From Hiroshima and Nagasaki to the Cold War nuclear arms race, the specter of annihilation looms over us. Even now, we see the echoes of these riders in modern conflicts, economic uncertainty, and the looming threat of World War III. Tensions in the Middle East, the Ukraine-Russia war, and growing instability across the globe all point to a future that eerily aligns with biblical prophecy. Are the four horsemen already riding among us? And if so, what comes next? China and TikTok being the scarlet beast and the prostitute of Babylon. Throughout history, empires have risen and fallen, but one nation today exerts unprecedented control over global politics, economics, and technology: China. Could this rising superpower have a deeper connection to the prophetic visions in Revelation? In Revelation 17:3, John describes a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, full of blasphemous names. This beast, often interpreted as a powerful political system, bears an unmistakable connection to China, a nation whose flag, ideology, and revolutionary roots are all deeply associated with the color red. Unlike past empires, which relied on military conquest, China wields its power through economic dominance, political influence, and technological control. With its rapid expansion in global affairs, could China itself be the scarlet beast foretold in Revelation? As this beast rises, another figure emerges, the great prostitute Babylon the Great, who rides upon it, deceiving the nations with her seductive influence. Revelation 17:4-5. The Bible describes Babylon the Great as a force that entices kings and peoples, leading them into corruption and immorality. In today's world, few entities have captivated and reshaped global culture as profoundly as TikTok. This Chinese-controlled platform has spread like wildfire across the world, infiltrating the daily lives of billions and subtly manipulating thought patterns. With an algorithm designed to exploit human psychology, TikTok promotes vanity and self-indulgence, drawing users into an endless cycle of fleeting pleasures. More than just entertainment, TikTok has also become a tool of influence, shaping social and political discourse across nations. Governments and institutions worldwide have grown increasingly wary of its power, recognizing how it can be used for propaganda, mass persuasion, and even behavioral control. Just as Babylon the Great was adorned in luxury and excess, TikTok thrives on a culture of self-obsession, instant gratification, and the relentless pursuit of status and influence. While it offers the illusion of connection and empowerment, it subtly enslaves its users, feeding their desires while shaping their perceptions of reality. If China is the scarlet beast, building a system of global influence, and TikTok is the prostitute of Babylon, seducing the world, then what comes next? As we move forward, another prophecy looms, the release of suffering and plagues from the abyss. Could the next great disaster have already begun? COVID-19 as the hell locusts. In Revelation 9:1-11, John describes a terrifying vision. A star falls from heaven, unlocking the abyss, from which smoke rises like a great furnace. Out of the smoke comes a swarm of strange locusts with the power to torment humanity. These creatures spread suffering across the earth, creating chaos and despair. Many have speculated about the meaning of this prophecy, but in light of recent events, could it be that this vision has already begun to unfold? In late 2019, the world witnessed the emergence of COVID-19, a virus that spread with unprecedented speed, bringing fear and uncertainty to every nation. Unlike previous plagues, this one did not remain confined to one region, but quickly engulfed the entire world, disrupting economies, healthcare systems, and daily life. Governments imposed extreme measures, restricting movement, enforcing quarantines, and changing the way people interacted with one another. The pandemic revealed how fragile human civilization truly is, and how easily societies could be placed under absolute control when faced with crisis. Even more unsettling is how COVID-19 reshaped human behavior. Social distancing, isolation, and reliance on digital interaction became the norm. Physical gatherings, including church congregations, were restricted, while virtual spaces, AI-driven content, and digital currencies gained momentum. For the first time in modern history, people willingly gave up their personal freedoms in exchange for a sense of security. Was this merely a response to a health crisis, or was it a calculated shift toward a new world system, one that brings us closer to the final prophetic fulfillment? As the world moves forward, the effects of COVID-19 have not disappeared. Instead, they have laid the foundation for a future where health crises, surveillance, and government control will become the new normal. Could this be part of a greater plan to prepare humanity for the rise of the beast? If so, what other unseen forces are at work? And what is the next phase of this prophetic timeline? AI and IT as the beast from the sea and the beast from the land. In Revelation 13, 1-18, John describes two great beasts, one rising from the sea and the other from the earth. The first beast is a force of immense power and authority, while the second beast serves as its enabler, performing wonders and leading humanity into submission. For centuries, scholars have debated the identity of these beasts, but in today's world, could they symbolize the rise of artificial intelligence, AI, and the information technology, IT systems that sustain it? The beast from the sea is described as a dominant force, wielding global influence and shaping the destiny of nations. In the modern age, AI is quickly emerging as the ultimate power, not just assisting humans, but replacing them in decision-making. AI now influences governments, businesses, economies, and even military operations, making choices that once belonged to human leaders. It already controls the flow of information, filtering what people see and believe, determining social trends, and even shaping political opinions. The more AI advances, the more it resembles a powerful, unseen ruler, a force that dictates reality itself. Could AI be the beast from the sea, a new kind of authority rising above humanity, demanding submission in ways we do not yet fully understand? But AI does not operate alone. It relies on an invisible infrastructure of information technology, IT, a vast network of digital systems that connects and sustains it. This is where the beast from the earth comes in. Revelation describes this second beast as one that creates an image of the first beast and gives it life, making people worship it. In today's world, IT systems function as the very foundation that enables AI's power to grow. The internet, cloud computing, 5G networks, and data servers worldwide feed AI with endless amounts of information, allowing it to expand and take control. Without this vast digital infrastructure, AI would be powerless, just as the beast from the earth works to serve and elevate the beast from the sea. Even more concerning is how this technological system is leading humanity toward a future of total dependence. Social media algorithms dictate what people think. Cloud-based AI tools process personal data, creating digital profiles that track and predict every action. Governments and corporations use this data to implement digital ID systems, cashless economies, and centralized control over transactions. In Revelation 13, 16-17, we are warned of a time when no one can buy or sell without the mark. Could this be a reference to a future where AI-enforced systems, powered by IT infrastructure, determine who has access to basic necessities? As AI and IT systems continue to evolve, they are being given more authority over critical aspects of life, much like the beasts in Revelation. The question is no longer whether technology will control humanity, but how much time remains before it enforces total obedience. Could this be the system that will one day usher in the mark of the beast, a world where submission to AI-driven governance is the only way to function in society? If so, what happens when humans lose all autonomy, surrendering their fate to an intelligence beyond their control? Or cryptocurrency as the marks of the beast. In Revelation 13, 16-17, John warns that a time will come when no one can buy or sell unless they have the mark of the beast. For centuries, people debated how such total control could be possible. But today, with the rise of digital money and cryptocurrencies, we are seeing the pieces fall into place. What if the mark is not a physical symbol, but a financial system that forces absolute obedience? The first step was cryptocurrency. When Bitcoin and other digital coins appeared, they were praised as a way to escape government control. But in reality, they led the world toward a future without cash, where all money exists only in a digital form. Unlike paper money, which can be used privately, digital currency operates entirely within a monitored system. Every transaction is tracked, recorded, and controlled. Once cash is gone, nothing will be anonymous. Every purchase, every sale, and every penny will be under watchful eyes. Now, governments are taking it even further. Many countries are phasing out cash and creating their own state-controlled digital currencies. Unlike Bitcoin, which operates independently, these new systems will be fully controlled by the government. They will have the power to approve or deny purchases, freeze accounts, and decide who can participate in the economy. If you refuse to comply with government rules, your money could be turned off instantly. No food, no travel, no way to survive. But the most alarming part is how this digital economy is being connected to personal identity. Governments and corporations are working on digital ID systems that will link a person's money to their records, behavior, and even social status. If this becomes the global standard, only those who obey the system will have access to financial transactions. This is exactly what Revelation foretold, a world where only those who submit to the beast's mark can buy and sell. Are we witnessing the rise of the mark of the beast? Once physical money is gone, there will be no turning back. Every person will be forced to choose, comply with the system or be completely cut off from society. If digital money becomes the only way to survive, what happens to those who refuse it? The answer may be closer than we think. Climate change, as the vision of the sun scorches people. In Revelation 16:8-9, John describes a time when the sun scorches people with fierce heat, yet they refuse to repent. While many believe climate change is purely a scientific issue, could it also be connected to the unfolding prophecies in Revelation? One surprising link is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining, which consumes massive amounts of energy, contributing to global warming. The very system that may become the mark of the beast is also fueling the heat and destruction described in prophecy. For decades, scientists have warned about rising temperatures, extreme droughts, and devastating storms. But in recent years, these warnings have turned into reality. Glaciers are melting, wildfires are destroying entire regions, and heat waves are reaching deadly levels. Nations are struggling with food shortages as farmland dries up and fresh water becomes scarce. The earth itself seems to be groaning under the weight of human corruption. Is this just an environmental crisis, or is it divine punishment, warning humanity before the final judgment? Beyond the disasters themselves, climate change is also shaping global politics and control. Governments are using environmental crises to justify new policies, regulations, and restrictions. Many believe that future laws will enforce carbon tracking, restricted consumption, and even population control in the name of saving the planet. Could this be another step toward a centralized system of global authority where personal freedoms are sacrificed for the supposed good of humanity? The question remains, is climate change simply a crisis caused by human actions? Or is it a sign of prophetic judgment? And if it is divine punishment, how much worse will it become before the world realizes the truth? More importantly, what will be the next event that pushes humanity closer to the final days? What Big Bang theory is the proven of the Genesis? For centuries, people have debated whether science and faith can coexist. Some believe scientific discoveries disprove the Bible, while others see them as evidence of God's creation. But what if one of the most important scientific theories, the Big Bang, is actually proof of the existence of God? Could modern cosmology unknowingly confirm what the Bible has said all along? In Genesis 1:1, the Bible begins with a simple yet profound statement. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. For much of human history, many believed the universe had always existed. But in the 20th century, scientists discovered something astonishing. The universe had a beginning. The Big Bang Theory, now the most widely accepted explanation for the origin of the universe, states that everything in existence came from a single point of unimaginable energy and has been expanding ever since. This aligns with the biblical concept that there was a definite starting point, a moment when God spoke the universe into being. Even more remarkably, scientists now recognize that the universe appears to be fine-tuned for life. The laws of physics, the precise balance of cosmic forces, and the conditions on Earth are so perfectly calibrated that even the slightest variation would make life impossible. Many scientists struggle to explain this, while believers see it as clear evidence of intelligent design, proof that the universe was created with purpose. However, rather than acknowledging a creator, many in the scientific community cling to alternative explanations, such as the multiverse theory, or the idea that everything happened by chance. This echoes what the Bible warns in Romans 1:20-22, that although God's power is evident in creation, people will still reject him and worship their own understanding. As knowledge increases, so does humanity's arrogance, leading many to place their faith in science alone while ignoring the deeper truth. Could it be that modern discoveries are unintentionally proving God's existence? If so, how long will it be before the world acknowledges the truth? And more importantly, if the universe truly had a beginning, then it must also have an end. Are we approaching the moment when the Creator himself will intervene once again? What comes next? Throughout history, people have looked at the prophecies in Revelation as warnings of a distant future. But now, as we examine the world around us, it is clear that many of these events are already unfolding. Wars, economic collapse, digital control, pandemics, artificial intelligence, and environmental disasters, each piece is falling into place, leading humanity toward an inescapable conclusion. If the past century has been the beginning of these signs, what can we expect next? The Bible warns that as the world spirals deeper into chaos, a global government will emerge, offering solutions to the problems humanity faces. This government, ruled by the beast, will promise peace, unity, and security, but at the cost of total submission. With digital currency replacing cash, artificial intelligence controlling information, and surveillance ensuring obedience, a system will arise where no one can buy, sell, or participate in society unless they accept the mark of the beast. At the same time, tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate, drawing the world closer to what many believe will be the final great war, Armageddon. Nations are already aligning. Economic and military power is shifting, and biblical prophecy warns that Jerusalem will be at the center of the world's greatest conflict. Could the wars we see today be leading directly to the final battle? But amid the darkness, Revelation offers a glimmer of hope. It proclaims that Jesus Christ will return, not as a suffering servant, but as a conquering king who will destroy the forces of the beast and establish his kingdom. The Bible assures that those who stand firm in their faith will be saved. Yet the question remains, how many will recognize the truth before it is too late? The world is changing faster than ever. Technology, politics, and global events are aligning exactly as Revelation predicted. This is not just speculation, it is happening before our eyes. Will you be prepared? Will you recognize the signs? Or will you be among those who are deceived? As we approach the final days, each person will have to make a choice to follow the world's system or to stand with God. The time is coming. The prophecies are unfolding. The decision is yours. When John wrote Revelation, he described his visions using the language and understanding of his time. He had no way of comprehending artificial intelligence, digital economies, or global surveillance, so he portrayed them using symbols, beasts, marks, and locusts, imagery familiar to his era to represent future systems of power and control. But the message remains clear. A global system will rise, demand absolute submission, and those who refuse will be cast out. Today, the beast is rising, consolidating power through global governance, economic control, and technology. The mark of the beast is taking shape as cash disappears, digital currencies emerge, and biometric IDs become mandatory. With artificial intelligence manipulating beliefs, propaganda and deception now spread faster than ever, society is being conditioned to submit, whether to technology, governments, or a future world leader. Meanwhile, instead of turning to God, many place their faith in human progress and scientific advancements. The Bible warns that in the last days, people will reject the truth and embrace deception, 2 Thessalonians 2:10-12. But Revelation is not just a warning. It is also a promise. It assures us that Jesus will return, evil will be defeated, and righteousness will be restored. What topics should we explore next? Are there specific prophecies, current events, or biblical themes you want us to discuss in future videos? Share your ideas in the comments. We want to hear from you. Your suggestions help shape the content we create.
Iran dominates the headlines. Wars, threats, secret alliances, nuclear plans. But few realize its story was written long ago in the Bible. From the first pages of Genesis in the Bible to the final visions of Revelation, the end time, Iran appears under its ancient name, Persia. The Bible doesn't just tell us how Persia began, it reveals its final role in the last days. In Revelation, Persia joins a deadly coalition in the war of Gog and Magog, rising against Israel. But Persia wasn't always a threat. It once set God's people free, helped rebuild the temple, and fulfilled the prophecies of Daniel. Stay with me until the end, because today we'll uncover Iran's real place in God's plan, from the very beginning to the end. Let's dive in. It all starts in the book of Genesis when God gives humanity a second chance thought, the lineage of Noah. Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, became the forefathers of new nations. From them, the coastlands were populated, each according to their own languages, families, and nations. Among their sons, 2 names stand out, 2 ancestors of what would later become the Persian Empire, Madai and Elam. Madai is the son of Japheth. From him came the Medes, a people who settled in the northern mountains, a region that is now part of modern-day Iran. These mountain tribes grew slowly, building villages and forming strong clans. They were tough, independent, and well-organized. Madai is seen as the ancestor of the ancient heartland of northern Iran. Elam was the son of Shem. His descendants settled in the rich lands of southwestern Iran, near the Persian Gulf. But when the population grew, came the war's 4 eastern kings, including Chedorlaomer, king of the Elamite, joined forces and invaded the land of Canaan. They destroyed cities, enslaved people, and even took Lot, Abraham's nephew, as a captive. Elam was not a weak or unknown tribe. It was a strong kingdom, the first in Scripture to go to war against God's people. But Abraham didn't stay silent. With only 318 trained servants, he chased down the invaders, attacked them at night, and won. He rescued Lot, freed the prisoners, and defeated the eastern kings. It was a victory that showed something clear. No power on earth can overcome those who have the favor of God. But the story of Elam didn't end there. They didn't vanish. Centuries passed, generations came and went, and the tribes once defeated by Abraham grew stronger again. The Elamites and the Medes shared the same land, the ancient terrain of eastern Mesopotamia. One dwelled southwest in the fertile plains of Elam. The other inhabited the mountainous north, where the harshness of the region forged the character of the Medes. Together they formed an united power, an empire, the Persian Empire. Though they were pagan nations, they were never outside God's plan. Through the prophets Isaiah and Jeremiah, two great prophecies concerning them were declared. The first prophecy revealed that God would use Persian as instruments to punish Babylon. Babylon, who had destroyed Jerusalem and burned down its temple, would not escape judgment. Yet the second prophecy was even more astounding. God would not only use Persia to bring punishment, he would also wield Persia as an instrument of liberation. God announced through the prophet Isaiah that an unborn pagan king would free Israel from exile and decree the rebuilding of the temple in Jerusalem. Isaiah called him by name more than 150 years before he was even born, Cyrus, and both prophecies came true with terrifying precision. In the 8th century BC, Deioces, king of the Medes, united the tribes of Elam and Madai, founding the first imperial capital, Ecbatana. His grandson, Cyaxares, took the next great step, reforming the army and turning it into a war machine strong enough to destroy Nineveh, capital of the Assyrian Empire, one of Israel's most brutal enemies. The prophecy began to be fulfilled. God was raising up Persia from within as his instrument of judgment and redemption. Yet even as Persia grew in power, God had already revealed its destiny through prophetic dreams. And the first to see it clearly was a young Hebrew prisoner living in Babylon, Daniel. It all started when the Babylonian army, led by King Nebuchadnezzar, marched into Jerusalem. The city walls fell, the temple was ransacked, and thousands were carried away into slavery in distant lands. Daniel was among them. He was just a teenager when he was torn from his home and brought to the court of Babylon. But there in the darkness, God chose him. God gave him something granted to no other captive, a gift of visions. Visions that spoke not only about his own time, but about the course of all human history. At the very heart of the empire responsible for Jerusalem's destruction, Daniel began to see how God would raise another kingdom, one destined to replace Babylon and play a crucial role in the fate of his own people, the Persian Empire. And it all began with dreams. While Daniel served in Nebuchadnezzar's court, the king was deeply troubled by a disturbing dream. A giant statue, crafted from different metals, towered before him, radiating an indescribable glory and menace. Terrified, the king demanded not only someone who could reveal it without first hearing it. None of Babylon's the 3 wise men could accomplish this task. But God's prophet was ready, and they brought Daniel before the king. With the authority of heaven, Daniel stood before the powerful ruler and revealed what no Babylonian wise man could unravel. He described the dream exactly and proclaimed a revelation that would forever change the world's destiny. You, O king, are the head of gold. But after you, another kingdom will rise depicted by the chest and arms of silver. The prophecy was clear. Babylon would fall, and the throne would pass on to a new empire chosen by God. The Persian Empire, young Daniel, living far from his homeland, watched God's visions come true. The king God had foretold long ago through Isaiah was about to arise from the highlands of Persia. His name was Cyrus. Cyrus, the young Persian king, conquered Media and united the kingdoms into the Medo-Persian Empire. The Persian Empire gradually rose in power until it became the most dominant force of its time. Eventually, its king turned his attention to Babylon. The day spoken of in prophecy finally arrived, though it wasn't a battle like others. One night, King Belshazzar, grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, held a lavish banquet for 1,000 nobles. In the middle of the celebration, he made a shocking decision. He ordered the sacred vessels his grandfather had taken from the temple in Jerusalem to be brought out. Then, using these holy items, they raised their cups to honor false gods. At that moment, a mysterious hand appeared and began writing 4 words on the palace wall: Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. The king's face turned pale. No one could explain the meaning of the message. Daniel was brought in, and he revealed the meaning. God has numbered your days and brought your reign to an end. Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. As Daniel spoke those words, the prophecy began to unfold. The armies of Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, had already diverted the Euphrates River. That very night, they entered Babylon through the dry riverbed. The gates were left unlocked. God had opened them. King Belshazzar was killed, and Babylon fell to Persia, exactly as foretold. For 70 years, the Jews had lived in exile by the rivers of Babylon. Now, something no one expected happened. A foreign, pagan king allowed them to return to Jerusalem. But Cyrus did more than allow it. He provided funds to rebuild the temple and sent Jewish leaders back with royal approval: Zerubbabel, from David's royal line, and Joshua the high priest. These men laid the foundation of the new temple, restoring the place where God's name once dwelled. Persia, unlike other empires, did not destroy Israel. It helped rebuild it. But God also revealed to Daniel another vision, one more intense and troubling. In this vision, 4 beasts emerged from chaotic waters. The second beast was a bear, raised on one side with 3 ribs in its mouth. A voice thundered, "Get up and eat your fill of flesh." This beast represented the empire that would follow Babylon, Persia. It leaned to one side because Persia would come to dominate Media. The 3 ribs symbolized Persia's key conquests: Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt, each taken one after the other as Persia expanded rapidly. History confirmed this vision. Persia conquered Lydia in Asia Minor, then Babylon. Next, it moved toward Egypt. Under Cambyses II, son of Cyrus, Persian forces crossed the Sinai Desert and defeated Pharaoh Psamtik III at the Battle of Pelusium. Egypt, longtime oppressor of Israel, was defeated. The 3rd rib had fallen. Years later, Daniel saw yet another vision. This time, it was even clearer. A ram appeared with 2 horns, one taller than the other, and the taller one came up later. The ram charged west, north, and south, unstoppable. The meaning was explained. The ram represents the kings of Media and Persia. Persia was once again at the center of God's plan, but this time not as a helper of Israel, but as a powerful, conquering force. The detail about the uneven horns revealed something specific. Persia would rise above Media. Though it was a joint empire, Persia held true power. Then another figure appeared in the vision, a goat moving swiftly from the west with a single prominent horn. It attacked the ram, crushed it, and trampled it. This symbolized the next world empire, Greece. Though Daniel didn't know the goat's identity at the time, he understood this. Persia, for all its glory, would eventually fall. But that downfall hadn't happened yet. At its peak, Persia was unmatched. It ruled from India to Ethiopia. During the reign of King Ahasuerus, the throne of the world's greatest empire was in the city of Susa, deep in the land of Elam, modern-day southwestern Iran. And it was there, in Susa, that one of the Bible's most surprising miracles would take place. The mighty Persian Empire, unmatched in power and wealth, was forever changed by the actions of a single woman. The king held a grand banquet that lasted 6 months. Then he invited all the people of Susa to a final 7-day feast. During this celebration, he gave an order. Queen Vashti was to be brought before everyone so they could admire her beauty. But Vashti refused. The king, humiliated in front of his nobles and officials, banished her from the palace. His advisors then proposed a new plan: search the entire empire for a new queen. The most beautiful young women would be taken to the royal palace, where they would undergo a full year of preparation before being presented to the king. Among them was a young woman named Hadassah. She was an orphan, raised in secret by her cousin Mordecai. No one knew her background. In the palace, she was given a new name, Esther. Esther quickly gained the king's favor. Without knowing her origins, he chose her as the next queen. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the palace, danger was rising. A man named Haman, a descendant of Israel's ancient enemies, had climbed to the highest position of power after the king. When everyone was ordered to bow before him, Mordecai refused. Haman was enraged. But he didn't just seek revenge against one man. He plotted to destroy an entire people. He approached the king and spoke of a strange nation scattered across the empire, a people with different customs who, according to him, disobeyed the laws of the land. He convinced the king that they were a threat and secured approval for a decree to wipe them out. The decision was sealed with the royal ring. A date was set. Within a year, every Jew in the Persian Empire, men, women, and children, would be executed. Fear spread quickly. Mordecai sent word to Esther, urging her to act. But approaching the king without an invitation was punishable by death, unless he extended his golden scepter in mercy. Esther hesitated, but she knew what had to be done. She chose to risk her life. Uninvited, she entered the throne room. The king looked upon her and raised his scepter. She had found favor. But she didn't speak out right away. She invited the king and Haman to a private banquet and then to a second one. At the second feast, Esther revealed everything. "If we had only been sold into slavery, I would have stayed silent," she said. "But now, my people and I are to be destroyed." The king was shocked. "Who would do such a thing?" he demanded. Esther turned to Haman. "This wicked man is our enemy." The king rose in fury. Haman fell to his knees, begging for his life. But it was too late. He was executed on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. Yet the danger remained. The original decree still stood. Once issued, it could not be reversed. So Esther and Mordecai proposed a new solution: issue another decree giving the Jews the right to defend themselves. The king agreed. Throughout the empire, the Jewish people prepared. The day meant for their destruction became a day of survival and triumph. What was meant to be their end became their victory. Persia, once the setting of a death sentence, became a refuge. A throne of power had become a shield. After this, Persia slowly faded from the center of history. Kingdoms rose and fell. New empires took control. But Persia was not gone. Generations later, far from the royal courts and ancient wars, Persia reappeared, quietly yet powerfully. The three wise men saw a sign in the sky, a star, and they followed it. They traveled across the desert, across kingdoms, guided only by what they had seen in the heavens. They came in search of a newborn king, not of their own people, but of a people long remembered in their ancient traditions. These men were scholars, priests, and astronomers. Their homeland was likely the same ancient region, once part of the Persian Empire. They carried with them knowledge passed down through generations, writings, signs, patterns in the stars, and prophecies older than any empire still standing. And so, Persia returned, not as a conqueror, but as a witness to the beginning of something greater than empire. They were not kings, but scholars, men respected for their knowledge, authority, and spiritual insight. It's highly likely they studied ancient scrolls, including the writings of the prophet Daniel, who had served in the royal courts of Babylon and Persia centuries earlier. Daniel didn't just interpret dreams for kings. He calculated the precise timing of the Messiah's arrival. If these, the three wise men, understood his visions, they would have known the time was near. So when they saw the strange star in the sky, they immediately recognized it as a sign. The promised child had been born. But what set them apart was their response. They left behind everything familiar, crossed vast deserts, and arrived in ancient Jewish city with 3 symbolic gifts: gold, representing kingship; frankincense, representing divinity; and myrrh, foreshadowing death and sacrifice. Without realizing it, these men revealed one of the greatest mysteries of all. This child would be a king. He would be God, and he would be a sacrificial lamb. While Jerusalem's religious scholars remained silent and King Herod plotted to kill him, these foreigners from the East became the first to recognize and honor the fulfillment of ancient prophecy. This wasn't a coincidence, it was divine design. Persia, the very empire that once freed the Jewish people and helped rebuild their temple, was now the first to offer honor to their savior. Once again, Persia became an instrument of divine revelation. From the very beginning of redemptive history to the humbled birth in a manger, ancient Persia, Iran, was woven into God's plan. But Persia's story in the Bible doesn't end in Bethlehem. Though it once played a role in liberation, prophecy reveals it will also be involved in one of the darkest chapters of the future. Through the visions of the prophet Ezekiel, we learn that Persia will be part of a powerful alliance that rises up against Israel in the last days. This future coalition includes several nations: Persia, or now called Iran, Kush or Sudan, Put or Libya, and regions associated with Turkey and the Caucasus. They will unite under a northern leader, believed by many scholars to represent a figure from the Russian or Eurasian region. This alliance will form a massive military force advancing toward Israel like a storm, but they will not succeed. Their invasion will trigger a dramatic divine response: earthquakes, fire, confusion among the armies. Amidst the chaos, God's power will be revealed, and His name made known to all nations. So Persia, once a redeemer, will now face judgment. Not because she was forgotten, but because she rises once again against God's will and His people. Few nations in the Bible travel such a complete arc, from creation to redemption to final confrontation. But what is Persia's ultimate fate? Will she be completely destroyed, or is there still a path to redemption? The answer is not spelled out directly, but hidden in the details, it suggests something far deeper and more powerful than many realize. After the fall of this coalition, the aftermath is catastrophic. An army consumed by fire from above, bodies left in open fields, weapons burning for years. The name of the northern leader becomes a symbol of divine judgment. And Persia, as part of this alliance, will not escape that reckoning. Yet here lies a surprising twist, one rooted in a prophecy spoken long ago and nearly forgotten. The prophet Jeremiah once delivered a message about Elam, the ancient region linked to modern-day Iran. It spoke first of judgment. Elam's strength would be broken, but then came an unexpected promise. In the last days, Elam would be restored. This changes everything, because even though Iran is foretold to rise against Israel in the final days, and even though it will take part in the climactic rebellion that provokes God's wrath, its story doesn't end in destruction. Even in judgment, God leaves the door open for redemption. The Iran we see in today's headlines, aggressive, defiant, entangled in dark alliances, may one day take part in a renewed world. Persia's biblical journey mirrors humanity's own: chosen, fallen, judged, and yet, through grace, restored. That's why Iran's destiny in the biblical narrative stands as both a warning and a promise. A warning to any empire that dares to oppose God, and a promise to all who turn back to Him. Because in the end, the nations will return. They will journey to Jerusalem to honor the true King. And among them, perhaps, will be Elam. A nation once known for redemption, later known for rebellion, may again witness restoration. For in God's heart, there is still room for those who choose to return. From the earliest pages of Genesis to the final visions in Revelation, Persia is present. When humanity emerged from the flood, Elam and Madai were named as ancestors of future peoples, seeds of a future empire. When Abraham rescued Lot, Elam had already become a military power. Later, when Babylon fell, Persia rose, not as a conqueror, but as a liberator. A Persian king gave the order to rebuild the temple, and centuries later, when the Messiah was born, the 3 wise men from Persia were among the first to recognize his arrival. But as the end draws near, the script turns darker. Prophecy describes Persia once again standing at the center of world events, this time as part of an alliance that rises against God's people. Alongside other nations, it will take its place in a global conflict. Yet the story isn't finished. The book remains open. Scripture doesn't shut the door on Persia's future. One day, the nations will return to Jerusalem, not to wage war, but to worship too.
This is the most terrifying part of the Bible, but only for those who defy God. The book of Revelation isn't just a warning, it's a call to be ready. A vision of the world's final days, when chaos erupts, the beast rises, and humanity faces its ultimate test. War, famine, disasters, and deception will consume the earth. The lines will be drawn. Every soul will be forced to choose. And if you are not among 144,000 people who are spared, you may desperately want to know what happens to the rest of the world. Will there be an escape, or will judgment be unavoidable? Today, we uncover 10 of the most terrifying prophecies in Revelation, visions so chilling, so undeniable, they no longer feel like the future but the present. If you find this topic intriguing, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps us continue bringing you content like this. Now, let's begin. 1. The 7 Seals. Hoofbeats echo across the earth, a distant thunder growing louder closer, then they appear. The first rider emerges, cloaked in white, a crown upon his head, a bow in his hand. He comes as a conqueror, but not with brute force. He deceives, he manipulates, he speaks of peace, but behind his words lie chains of oppression. This is the false savior. Behind him rides the second, draped in crimson, gripping a massive sword. He does not negotiate, he destroys. Nation rises against nation, brother against brother. The world drowns in war. The third follows, cloaked in black, holding a pair of scales. But these are not for justice. They measure survival. Food becomes scarce. The rich grow fat while the poor starve. Famine grips the land, and then the last rider. A spectre pale as death itself, his eyes hollow, his grip cold. Behind him, the grave follows like an open mouth, swallowing a quarter of humanity. These are not myths. These are the first 4 seals. And when they are broken, the world begins to unravel. In the hands of God, a book lies sealed shut, a scroll containing the fate of the world. No one in heaven or on earth dares to open it, except for one. The Lamb steps forward. A hush falls over heaven as he reaches for the scroll. The time has come. And as he breaks the first seal, the horsemen are unleashed. When he broke the 5th seal, the voices of the martyrs cry out beneath the altar. They were slain for refusing to bow before the beast. Their blood stains the earth. They beg for justice. They plead for vengeance. But they are told to wait. When the 6th seal was broken, the earth convulses. A great earthquake shatters the land. Mountains shift. Islands vanish beneath the waves. The sky turns black. The moon bleeds red. The stars are ripped from the heavens, falling like torches into the abyss. Panic grips the world. Kings and warriors, rich and poor, all flee. They stumble through the ruins, searching for refuge where none can be found. They cry out to the mountains, "Fall on us, hide us from the wrath of the Lamb." But there is no escape. Then the seventh seal is broken. For a moment, nothing happens. No fire, no thunder, just silence. A silence so deep, so unnatural, that it grips heaven and earth in absolute stillness. The angels do not move. The elders do not speak. Heaven holds its breath. Because what comes next will shake the earth like never before. 2. The trumpets of judgment. The abyss cracks open. From its depths a thick choking smoke pours out, blotting out the sun. Darkness spreads, and then they emerge. Winged horrors, grotesque and unnatural. Their faces like men, their teeth like lions, their tails like scorpions dripping with venom. They do not kill, they torment, they descend upon the earth in endless swarms. People scream, clawing at their own skin, writhing in agony. They beg for death, but death will not come. For 5 months they roam, 5 months of pain, 5 months of madness. This is no nightmare, this is the fifth trumpet. Before the abyss was opened, 7 angels stepped forward, each holding a trumpet, and one by one they began to sound. The first trumpet, fire and hail rain down from the heavens. Trees ignite instantly, forests turn to ash, the ground scorched beyond recognition. 1/3 of the earth burns, smoke rises, blotting out the sky. Then the second trumpet. A mountain of fire, a blazing mass, crashes into the sea. The water churns violently, turning blood red. Waves of death ripple outward, ships shatter. 1/3 of all marine life perishes. The third trumpet. A brilliant light streaks across the sky. A star, burning like a torch. It crashes into rivers, lakes and springs. The waters turn bitter. Wormwood. Those who drink it writhe in agony, their last breath stolen by the very thing that once gave life. The fourth trumpet. The heavens dim, the sun, the moon, the stars, darkened by 1/3. Daylight is weak, night is suffocating. The world is wrapped in an unnatural shadow. And then the worst begins. The fifth trumpet. A great abyss tears open. Smoke billows out, black as ink. And from the pit, the horrors rise. For 5 months, the locusts swarm. Cities fall silent except for the screams. No refuge, no relief. The sixth trumpet. A voice thunders from the altar. 4 fallen angels, bound since ancient times, are released. And with them, an army 200 million strong. Their steeds breathe fire, their riders bring ruin. 1/3 of humanity is wiped out. Then the seventh trumpet. A final sound, louder than thunder, shaking both heaven and earth. The skies burn, the ground quakes. This is no longer just judgment. This is the final warning. And there is no escaping what comes next. 3. The marks of the beast. 666. A number whispered in fear, prophesied for centuries. It is more than ink on skin, more than a mark. It is allegiance, it is ownership, it is a choice. And soon the world will be forced to decide. A new era rises from the ashes of chaos. The wars have ended. The economies have collapsed. Fear grips the nations. People cry out for order, for stability, for someone to lead them. And then he appears. A leader like no other. Charismatic, powerful, unquestioned. He speaks of unity, of peace, of a future without suffering. The world listens, the world follows, but loyalty has a price. A command is given. Everyone have to take the mark, on the right hand, on the forehead. Without it, you are nothing. You cannot work, you cannot trade, you cannot buy food water, or shelter. Society moves forward, but only for those who bear the mark. Some embrace it willingly, others hesitate, but fear drives them to compliance. And those who refuse, they're hunted, branded as traitors, outcasts, enemies of progress. They flee into the shadows, living like ghosts, surviving on nothing. But what they do not realize is this: the trap is already set. Revelation is clear. Those who take the mark seal their fate. There is no turning back, and judgment is coming. 4. The 7 bows of God's wrath. The first sign appears on their skin. It starts as an irritation, just a slight burn, a subtle itch beneath the surface. Then it spreads, boils, erupt. Flesh blisters. The stench of rotting wounds fills the air. The pain is unbearable. They claw at their own skin, but nothing stops the agony. These are the ones who took the mark. They thought it would bring them security, power, privilege, access to a future. Instead, it has become a curse etched into their very flesh. This is the first bowl, and it is only the beginning. 7 angels stand before the throne of God, each holding a golden bowl, filled to the brim with divine wrath. One by one they begin to pour. The second bowl. The sea turns to blood. Not a tint, not a trickle, thick, congealed, lifeless. Every creature beneath the waves floats, bloated and rotting on the surface. The oceans, once teeming with life, become a grave. The third bowl. Rivers, lakes, springs. The last sources of drinking water turn to blood. There is nothing left to quench the thirst. People stagger in desperation, their lips cracked, their throats raw, but there is no relief. The fourth bowl. The sun, once a source of warmth and light, becomes a weapon. It flares with unbearable heat, scorching the earth. Skin blackens, eyes swell shut, bodies collapse from dehydration. And yet, they still curse God. The fifth bowl. Darkness. Thick, suffocating, unnatural. It does not merely blind, it crushes. People gnaw their own tongues in agony, choking on their own screams, but still they do not repent. The sixth bowl. The great Euphrates River dries up, paving the way for the final war. Kings march forward, unknowingly walking into their own destruction. The battlefield of Armageddon awaits. And then, the seventh bowl. The air splits with a voice from the throne. It is done. The earth shudders violently, cities collapse, mountains crumble into dust, lightning rips through the heavens, and from above, hailstones, each weighing 100 pounds, crash into the ruins of a world that chose the beast over God. This is no longer just judgment. This is the end. 5. The fall of Babylon the Great. She stands in splendor, Babylon the Great, draped in scarlet and gold, adorned with jewels. She holds a golden cup in her hand. But it is not filled with wine. It is filled with filth, corruption, and the blood of the saints. The world adores her. Kings bow at her feet. Merchants grow rich from her wealth, nations drink from her cup, intoxicated by greed and indulgence. They believe she will reign forever. But they are wrong, because her judgment has already been written. From the heavens a voice thunders, "Fallen! Fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling for demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit." And then fire. Smoke rises. The city, once untouchable, erupts into flames. Towers crumble, streets crack open, the wealth of the world turns to ash. The people who once worshipped her now flee in terror. From a distance, the kings of the earth watch in horror. "Woe, woe to the great city," they cry. "In 1 hour, her judgment has come." Merchants weep. Gold, silver, fine linens, worthless. Their fortunes, their luxuries, gone in an instant. The sea captives who once thrived off her riches stand frozen in disbelief. The world's empire has fallen, and then silence. No more music, no more feasting, no more celebration. The lights are extinguished. The voices are gone. Babylon, the greatest empire of men, wiped from the earth in a single day, because no kingdom stands forever, except one. 6. The Armageddon. A light pierces the darkness, blinding, brilliant. It cuts through the blackened sky like a sword, illuminating the battlefield below. The armies of the world stand ready, millions of soldiers, tanks, war machines stretching as far as the eye can see. They have come to make war, but they have no idea what they are about to face. It begins with a whisper of wind, then a tremor beneath the earth. The ground shakes, the sky churns, a deafening roar splits the heavens as the armies of the world lift their weapons, eyes filled with defiance. Then the sky rips open. A figure descends, bathed in fire and light, not a king of men, not a ruler of this world, but a force beyond comprehension. His eyes burn like flames. His robe is drenched in blood, and on his thigh a name is written: King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Behind him, the armies of heaven ride, no guns, no missiles, only righteousness, justice, and the unstoppable power of God. The kings of the earth stagger in horror, their hands tremble. They thought they were marching to victory. Now they realize they have marched into doom. Then, destruction. Thunder cracks, lightning ignites the sky. A voice booms across the battlefield, shaking the ground beneath their feet, and in an instant, the forces of darkness are undone. Their weapons melt into nothing. Their war machines crumble to dust. The kings of the earth tremble, but it is too late. Swords of divine light strike down rulers. Fire from heaven consumes the wicked. Blood runs in rivers, staining the very soil beneath them. And the great enemy, the beast, the false prophet, the rulers who defied God, seized, judged, cast alive into the lake of fire. The battle ends as quickly as it began. Evil is crushed. The war is over. But this is not just victory. This is the dawn of a new kingdom. 7. The fall of Satan. The battlefield is silent. The beast is gone. The false prophet has been cast into the lake of fire. The armies of the earth lie in ruin. But one remains, the dragon. For too long he has ruled the shadows, whispered into the ears of kings, turned brother against brother. Corrupted hearts and poisoned nations, he has deceived the world. But now his time is up. A mighty angel descends from heaven, his form glowing like fire, his presence shaking the very foundations of the earth. In his hand, an unbreakable chain, forged for a single purpose. The dragon sees him. He thrashes, he roars, the air trembles with his fury, but it is useless. His power is broken. The angel moves with divine force. One motion, one command, and the great deceiver is seized. He fights, he writhes, he screams, but nothing can stop what is coming. Before him, the abyss opens, a chasm of pure darkness, bottomless, eternal, cold. The chains tighten, the dragon is cast down. The pit slams shut. For 1,000 years he will remain locked away. No more lies, no more deception, no more war. The nations will finally know peace. But this is not the end, because one day he will be released, and when that day comes, his final rebellion will seal his fate forever. 8. The final judgment. The books are opened. The dead rise from their graves, great and small, kings and beggars, warriors and merchants. Every soul that has ever lived now stands before the great white throne. And there is no more hiding. On one side, there is joy. The faithful step forward, their faces glowing with light. They hear their names spoken, not with judgment, but with love. The one who sits on the throne smiles upon them, his voice like the sound of rushing waters. Well done, good and faithful servant. Tears fall, but not of sorrow, of relief, of gratitude. Their struggles, their suffering, their pain, all of it is gone. Before them stands a new world, radiant and pure, a new heaven, a new earth. The gates of the holy city swing open, its streets gleaming like gold, its foundations shining with every precious stone. There is no more death, no more sorrow, no more fear. The faithful step inside, embraced by eternity. They will never be apart from God again, but on the other side, there is terror. The condemned tremble as they are called forward. Their names are not in the book of life. Their deeds are exposed, their sins laid bare. They fall to their knees, pleading, weeping, screaming for mercy, but mercy has passed. The voice from the throne is not filled with love, but with finality. Depart from me. I never knew you. And then they are cast out. The lake of fire awaits. A place of darkness, of torment, of eternal regret. They cry out as they fall, but there is no one left to save them. This is not a moment. This is forever. And then it is done. The old world is gone. The pain, the suffering, the darkness, all erased. The heavens roll back like a scroll, and in its place, something new appears. A new heaven, a new earth. A voice from the throne echoes through creation. Behold, I am making all things new. No more death, no more sorrow, no more pain, only eternity. The warnings have been given, the seals have been broken, the trumpets have sounded, the bowls have been poured out. Every prophecy and revelation points to one undeniable truth. The end is coming. Some will ignore it, some will mock it, but others will recognize the signs. Wars, disasters, corruption, deception, none of it is random. The world isn't just spiraling into chaos. It's following a script written thousands of years ago. And now, the question isn't if it will happen. The question is, are you ready? Because Revelation doesn't just speak of judgment, it speaks of victory. Evil will be defeated, the false kingdoms will fall, and for those who stand firm, a new world awaits. One where death is no more, pain is no more, fear is no more. But not everyone will enter. So ask yourself, when the final day comes, where will you stand? If you want to keep uncovering the truth with us, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Because the signs are here, and there's still more to reveal.